Senator Menendez, thank you very much for this interview.
It's a pleasure.
The Eastern Mediterranean Energy and Security Partnership Act, amongst other things, provides for the lifting of arms embargo on Cyprus, military aid to Greece, and support for the trilateral Greece-Cyprus-Israel cooperation. Do you think it will have the support of the Senate and personally Donald Trump? And why did you introduce it at this particular moment?
The reason people ask me why now? Well, why now is in part because the countries involved themselves have come together. Greece, Israel, Cyprus, in the trilaterals they are holding. And because we have an incredible deepening relationship with Greece on the defense side, not only the hosting of the U.S. naval forces at Suda Bay, but the development against counterterrorism, the development throughout several other locations in Greece that is under negotiation.
This bill, however, comes in the midst of a severe crisis in the USA and Turkey bilateral relations, arising from Ankara's decision to buy the Russian S-400 missile system. Will USA impede the transfer of F-35 fighter jets in case Turkey proceeds with the acquisition of the Russian missile systems?
Yes. The acquisition of the S-400, the actual acquisition, not just the contract, but if the acquisition in Turkey is consummated, number one, that is a sanctionable activity under a law that I help write. And number two, we will never have an F-35 parked next to the S-400. It is simply unacceptable in the national security interests of the United States. It is unacceptable to our allies that have purchased the F-35. It is interoperable, it's not interoperable, I should say, with our NATO allies. And it is totally a direction that moves away from the very consensus we have in NATO. And so, yes, there will be no F-35 sold to Turkey if, in fact, they receive and deploy the S-400.
You have made it clear that this purchase is sanctionable under U.S. law. What sanctions are you going to impose?
There are a list of approximately 8 sanctions that can be invoked. Among them are limits on exports to the country or individuals. So defense acquisition issues could be involved. There are financial transaction sanctions that are very powerful, limiting access of virtually any financial transaction to the banks of the United States. There are visa issues that can be involved. So there is a list of 8 of which the president must choose 5 under the mandatory provisions of the law.
Would you consider moving American military bases from Turkey to Athens in case the relationship between USA and Ankara continues to deteriorate?
There will be enormous consequences to the defense sector of Turkey in addition to the sanctions. And so we hope that Turkey recalibrates and comes back to the role of being a good partner within NATO, endorsing the values of NATO at the end of the day, and ultimately doing all the things that are necessary to promote this long-term relationship. If, however, that does not happen, the United States will recalibrate anywhere in the world. That could be Greece, it could be elsewhere. We will recalibrate and understand what is the national interest and security of the United States and of our NATO allies.
The latest natural gas findings in offshore Israel and Cyprus could reshape the energy regional map in the Eastern Mediterranean. This has made Turkey being rather nervous. That's why we see lots of violations of Greece's national airspace and provocations. Are you worried about a prospect of a hot incident in the Aegean?
The reality is that these countries have the right under international law and the law of the sea to ultimately explore in their exclusive economic zone. Now, I am always worried about Turkey, particularly in its interference in Greek airspace at the end of the day. I'm always worried about the potential conflicts. That's why we have called upon Turkey to, observe Greek airspace, why we do not want to see to NATO allies find themselves in a conflict. It would be horrible for NATO. But Greece is not the aggressor here in terms of violating airspace. So I am always worried, exclusive of the energy exploration, of the questions of the potential for a flare-up in the Aegean as a result of Turkey's provocations and violation of Greek airspace.
You have characterized Russia a malign factor. We recently saw the results of Mueller report. Are you afraid that Moscow will attempt to intervene in the European elections?
Yes. They have shown themselves readily disposed to do so. I have no doubt that they will seek to pick spots in the European elections to try to help fringe and radical movements within the process, and to where they think they can make a difference in the results that will benefit them, seek to use cyber and other forms of disinformation in order to achieve their goals.
Senator Menendez, thank you very much for this interview for Euronews.
Thank you.